Helen Dalton, member for Murray, great to have you back with us on Flow.
No, thank you.
You had your own personal experience of a lockdown after you were in state parliament and were forced to isolate, but now your whole electorate's locked down.
Yes, well, the whole state is really, and so it's pretty tough for a lot of people.
And are there concerns locally that maybe this has overreached into your area? Were there many transmission cases in the electorate of Murray?
Presently, there's not, but I think there's certainly a great deal of concern about COVID getting into my electorate because our health services have been so degraded over the last 30 years, where we lack people, healthcare workers, and we lack the facilities in hospitals. So we're concerned about that. But what should have happened was, of course, Gladys Berejiklian do a harsh snap lockdown back in June, and I think a rollout of COVID wouldn't have occurred the way it has. So I think a bit of tough love for Sydney would have gone a long way to helping the rest of the country.
Yeah, to be clear, you're saying a harsh lockdown. She should have gone hard and early in Sydney and a ring of steel, if you like, around the metropolitan area.
Absolutely, and I think now we're paying the price for that because she doesn't want to upset her constituents. But in doing, she didn't even want to really mention that word lockdown. But in doing that, she did it around, and here it is now. It's in Dubbo. It's out at Wilcannia. I'm really concerned that it'll come into to my electorate, and those western areas have got a high Aboriginal population, and we just really haven't got the facilities, the healthcare facilities that we need.
Yeah, now the pandemic dominates a lot of what happens in the news cycle, but if it was a drought, people would be very focused on the report that landed yesterday about foreign ownership of water in Australia. What's your response to the Productivity Commission's report?
Oh, I don't agree with it at all. I think it's a lot of rubbish, really, and I think we should be really concerned about foreign ownership of our water, and they're saying that it's only 11%. I think 11% is a huge number. It's actually equates to about 8 Sydney harbours, and I don't even think that 11% is a correct figure. I think there's a lot more water that's hidden behind different companies and also foreign governments. So I think that's a very, very conservative figure. That
there was a recommendation there that they needed better integration with state and territory water registers. Does that suggest to you that maybe they don't have a complete data set yet?
No, they don't. And the data set, of course, it's very hard to find. There's bits and pieces of registers which aren't really public. In different departments, they have their own little register. And it's not complete. It's very spasmodic, and it's not transparent. So we really need to, if you're going to have a water market, and I think the genie's out of the bottle there, unfortunately, then we need to have like a land register. It'd be transparent and that people can see what's going on. And I think that the public would be very concerned when they see Chinese government buying up our water. And also, is basically Australian water will now be hawked around the world as an investment, and I think that's very, very concerning.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned China. Well, I've tracked this for some time myself, where Queensland had a register for much longer before we got this register, and the Chinese ownership has gone up fast in the last 15 years. Now they're second placed amongst all the other countries. Now you've got Canada, France, UK, USA in that top 5 as well, but they're not smacking our farmers around like China is. When you look at those other foreign owners from, I guess, the European countries. Yes,
well, that's true. But I think because, China will be looking after China. And, they may have a farm and water here, and they do. They have lots of that, even in my local area. They won't be producing a product for us. It'll go straight on a ship in a container back to China. So if we do run into times where there's an extreme drought and water is tight, they will be producing for themselves, and it's already happening now, and it won't be on our supermarket shelves. So that should raise alarm bells. I think we need to be able to become self-sufficient, and we should be self-sufficient in our food, but we've already seen shortages of Australian rice, and that's not just down to drought, that's about all these things we're talking about, poor water management as well. And that's very, very concerning when you see our shelves that don't have Australian rice. And this is where it's headed. And already too, as far as the dairy industry goes, we're just a heartbeat away from having fresh milk shortages in New South Wales, and I can see that what will happen is we will be importing our fresh milk, if it keeps going the way it is, from another country, and that is terrible.
With the Victorian Parliament shut down yesterday by Daniel Andrews, and you had to go home after the Parliament case that happened with the Agriculture Minister Marshall, do you have an opportunity to still chase these issues in Parliament to try and get more transparency on foreign ownership?
Look, it's very, very difficult because, we don't know when we will be back into Parliament. Parliament is so antiquated in the way they do business that it can't even be set up via Zoom or Teams or any other media like that. We can't hold the government to account. They are having budget estimates, which are like questions that the upper house people can ask of the minister and bureaucrats on certain issues, such as foreign ownership of water, but they will be very much reduced and just very difficult to be able to get to the bottom of a lot of things. We need to have a strong opposition to hold the government to account, to get the truth on many, many issues, because while COVID's on and while these restrictions are imposed upon us, the government has kind of got a free rein, and that is very, very concerning for us.
Well, Helen Dalton, thanks for sharing your thoughts on the foreign ownership and those other matters. Much appreciated. Always good to talk to you.
No, thanks so much.